This is Dr. Rodriguez, Psych 101. This is Chapter 3. It is Part B. Chapter 3 is on biopsychology, looking at the biological mechanisms responsible for behavior. We looked at genes, and we started talking about the nervous system, and the cells of the nervous system are called neurons. So let's zoom out and look at the different parts of the nervous system. So a whole bunch of neurons in this nervous system. Let's clump these cells into different parts of the nervous system. So you have a whole bunch of cells, neurons in the brain and the spinal cord. So a whole bunch of neurons in the brain and the spinal cord. We call that part of the nervous system the central nervous system, the central nervous system. It's in the center part of our body. It's our brain and our spinal cord. So you have a whole bunch of other neurons that are on the peripheral. So think about your peripheral vision. Peripheral vision means like you can see it on the outside, right? It's not right in front of you. It's not in the middle. It's on the outside, your peripheral vision. So you have your central nervous system, a whole bunch of neurons that are in your brain and your spinal cord. And then you have your peripheral nervous system. It's more of the neurons that are on the outskirts of your body. So it's in your muscles and in your hands and your senses and your nose, so you have your all these neurons that allow you to move and to smell and see and all that. Okay? So let's take a look at right now the central nervous system, the neurons that are in your brain, in your spinal cord. Okay? So we're going to look at the central nervous system, then we're going to look at the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system, again, refers to the brain and the spinal cord. So in the brain, there are a lot of different parts. I'm going to talk about that in a few. But first, I want to stress that our brain is very moldable. We have all these neurons and all these synapses and, all this stuff going on in our brain. And it's forever changing. By our experiences, when we get exposed to something, whether it's good or bad or scary, our neurons, our brain changes to accommodate that new information. All right. So when you hear the term neuroplasticity, it refers to how our nervous system changes, or that should say adapts with experiences. It gets molded by our experiences. All right, so if we want to measure our brain, the activity, or see if there's something going weird in our brain, we can do different types of tests. A CT test uses radiation. It's like an X-ray, and it will let you see the brain structure, the structure of our brain. So maybe see if there are any tumors or if parts of our brain have atrophied. So a PET is you take in a radioactive substance that will then allow doctors to take a picture of the activity in your brain. So if your parts of your brain are more active, there's more blood in that area and it's going to show up as more radioactive. An fMRI, a functional MRI, shows changes in brain activity over time. It tracks blood flow and oxygen levels, and it's more detailed than the PET. All right. And an EEG is you put on those little electrodes on your head, and it will measure the brain waves, the brain electrical activity. And sometimes an EEG is used to detect sleep disorders. All right, so central nervous system, just talked about the brain a little bit. We're going to go over the different brain parts in just a minute. But the other part of the central nervous system is the spinal cord. So here's the central nervous system, the brain, spinal cord, and then you have that peripheral nervous system, all the other nerves, bundles of neurons in the rest of the body. So, okay, so the spinal cord, this is the relay station. It connects your brain to the outside world, to the rest of, to the peripheral nervous system. So it connects you to the outside world, like if you are, say, touching a hot object, all right? It's going to send the message up your hand. It's going to go to this, to your spinal cord. And in those kind of situations with like a hot object, right? The message doesn't go all the way to your brain. It won't go all the way to your brain. You have this reflex, this like, you pull your hand away really fast before you even realize that you touched something hot. You're pulling your hand away. That's called the reflex arc. When you get these, you touch a hot object, or you have to pull away really fast, and your brain isn't even involved. Now, when it's not an emergency, when it's not a reflex, the messages are going to come from your hand or a part of your body, and then go up to spinal cord to your brain. Your brain's going to process it and then tell your body what it needs to do. But when it's that kind of emergency, when it's when that reflex is there, it's the message is going to go right up to your spinal cord, and it's not going to go all the way to your brain, but your spinal cord is going to say, pull your hand away really quickly. So it doesn't, in those kind of situations, the spinal cord is going to be the one that does the deciding to pull the hand away. But in non-emergency situations, the input is going to go up through your hand into your spinal cord and up to your brain, and your brain will decide what needs to happen. Okay, so talked about nervous system, central nervous system. We just talked about that, the brain and the spinal cord. Let's talk about that peripheral nervous system. All these neurons throughout our body. And this peripheral nervous system is going to carry the messages from your muscles, from your organs, from your senses to your central nervous system, and from your central nervous system, from your brain, in your spinal cord back to your body to tell it what it needs to do, whether it's to jump or run or walk or whatever. All right. So this peripheral nervous system, all this stuff, your organs, your senses, your muscles, that can be split into two. You have your somatic part of your peripheral nerve and your autonomic part of your peripheral nervous system. So the somatic, soma, you see the word soma in there. Remember, soma means body. Soma refers to more of your conscious stuff, the parts of your body that are your senses and your motor messages. It's like what you touch, and in the neurons that will tell your foot to, step over a log. All right. So the somatic soma is the part of your peripheral nervous system that is responsible for your senses and your motor messages. Senses that go to your central nervous system. So maybe let's see. Maybe you touch a soft blanket. All right. So you have your nerves, your neurons in your hand are going to tell like, ooh, that's a soft feeling. It's going to go up into your spinal cord, up to your brain, and your brain will say, ooh, that feels nice. Keep touching that. Okay. So when the messages are going from your hand to your spinal cord, that is called afferent neurons. As the messages are arriving at your central nervous system. They're arriving at your brain. Now, after your brain processes it and says, ooh, that's soft, you can keep on touching that, the message is going to exit your brain to go to your hand so you can continue touching that. So the exit message is your efferent, your efferent impulse, or efferent neurons. All right. So afferent is the messages that go from your hand. Ooh, feel that softness? Afferent is arriving, and efferent is, okay, go ahead and keep on touching it. All right. So senses to your central nervous system that's arriving is your afferent, and then your central nervous to your muscles that say, oh, keep on touching it, is your efferent. All right. So afferent, arriving, efferent, exiting. Okay. All right. So you have your peripheral nervous system, you have your somatic, that's your body stuff, your muscles, your senses, and you have your autonomic. Autonomic part of your peripheral nervous system are more of your automatic, your automatic unconscious functions, like your heart beating, breathing, digestion. Okay, autonomic nervous system is the part of your peripheral nervous system that is responsible for all the automatic unconscious functions like heartbeat, breathing, digestion. Okay, so then you have this automatic stuff, and that can be broken down into two different parts. You have your sympathetic autonomic nervous system and your parasympathetic. Okay, so when you are surprised or scared or stressed, do you hear all those S's? Surprised, stressed, scared. Your sympathetic, all those S's, sympathetic nervous system kicks in. It's your fight or flight, okay? So your heart rate goes up, your pupils dilate, your digestion slows down, your bladder function slows down, your glucose it spikes, your adrenaline spikes. Essentially what your body is doing is getting ready to run away or fight. So pupils dilate to let in more of what you are seeing. Your heart rate speeds up so that you can get ready to run. Your digestion slows down and your bladder slows down because your body's like, hey, I don't need to digest food right now. What I need to do is get a whole bunch of energy to get ready to run away. I'll digest later. All right. So your sympathetic nervous system is a part of your autonomic peripheral nervous system that kicks in when we're surprised and stressed. You might have heard somebody say, oh my God, I was so scared I peed my pants. Or somebody gets scared and they throw up, right? So pee your pants, you throw up. Your sympathetic nervous system is what's responsible for that. So the peeing the pants is when your bladder is slowing down. You know, your body's saying, you don't need to process your pee right now. Get rid of that so you can run faster. Or you throw up. You know, you're not digesting anymore. You get rid of what's in your stomach so that you can run fast. And, you know, you're not digesting. So that's your sympathetic nervous system. So if you think about your sympathetic nervous system, it's what's responsible for making you pee your pants or throw up. You know, and if you saw somebody pee their pants or throw up, you might feel sympathy for them. That's that sympathetic nervous system. All right. Sympathetic nervous system is your surprised or scared part of your autonomic nervous system. Okay. And then you have your parasympathetic nervous system. This is the part of your autonomic nervous system. This is what kicks in when you're calming back down and you're returning to normal. So I see parasympathetic, right? And I think about how the paramedics might come after an accident and calm everybody back down. Calm them down, fix them up, return them to normal. Parasympathetic is that part of your autonomic nervous system that's returning your body to normal function, your heart rate to normal function, getting your digestion going back again, your bladder, you know, returning adrenaline, glucose to regular levels. So sympathetic is your scared, your fight or flight. Parasympathetic is the paramedics coming and returning your autonomic nervous system to normal. So, you know, these different ways to help you remember the different parts of your body. Central nervous system, brain, spinal cord, peripheral nervous system is all this motor and organs. Organs. So you have your sympathetic nervous system is the parts, your organs that are going to be fight or flight, heart rate going up, pupils dilating, you know, getting you ready to run. And then your parasympathetic is going to be those organs, you know, calming back down and returning to normal. All right, next we're going to take a look at the different brain parts. We're going to return to that central nervous system for a minute just to go back over the brain, the specific brain parts.